back. I'm so excited to see everybody again today. Remember, last week we built an awesome Lego project, so that means this week we get to do a cool science experiment together. Now, the supplies that we're going to be using for today's experiment, I actually dropped off at the school, so hopefully your parents were able to pick them up or your teachers were able to drop them off at your house. But even if you don't have today's supplies, that's okay. You can still follow along while I do the experiment and you can make your guesses and see if you were right or not. And once we're back together, I'll have these cool materials with me for one of our experiments so you can grab them and squeeze them and hold them, okay? Now, for today's experiment, I'm super excited because we're going to be using some very cool things called jelly crystals, okay? Now, jelly crystals are made up of something called polymers, okay? Now, polymers are really long strings of repeating molecules. So what that means is that means that scientists have figured out how to change the molecules in these little tiny jelly crystals, okay, so that they can perform a really important job, okay? Now, these jelly crystals are able to soak up so much water that it's hard to tell that it's the same thing from the beginning of our experiment till the end of our experiment, okay? Now, today's experiment is actually going to go for a couple days because this scientific experiment takes time for the reaction to occur, okay? Remember, like when we use baking soda and vinegar in our experiments at school, and the second we put the vinegar in with the baking soda, the chemical reaction starts and we can see it fizz and we can hear it fizz and we can smell the chemicals coming together. Well, this reaction, there's our purple jelly crystal. This reaction, scientists, is not instantaneous like that, okay? Sometimes in science, we can make something happen really fast, and other times we have to be patient, okay? Because the polymers that make up these jelly crystals, okay, are able to soak up lots of water. But just like if you were drinking water out of a big, huge water bottle, you couldn't drink it all in one gulp, okay? We would have to take slow sips, right? It might take you a little while to finish it. That's what's going on with these polymers, and there's our blue jelly crystal, okay, scientists? That's what's happening with these polymers. It's going to be able to soak up a lot of water, but it's going to take time to drink all that water, okay? So we have three different types of jelly crystals. We have our purple one, our yellow one, our blue one, and our fourth one, our clear one, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to see just how big these crystals are at the start of our experiment, okay, and how big they get by the end of the experiment. So to do that, what I do is I just have a regular paper towel here, and I'm going to put the crystals on the paper towel, and I'm going to draw little circles around them, okay? So for the purple one, I'm going to use a purple marker. Now I'm going to hold the paper towel down, and I'm going to draw a circle around the jelly crystal. That way we know exactly how big it was at the start, okay? And you can even color it in if you want, or you can just leave it as a border, whichever you prefer. So I'm gonna do the same thing for my yellow ones, and I'm gonna go a little slowly here so that you can get time to find markers if you would like to do this part of the experiment at home, okay? You can do it on a paper, you can do it on anything that we can write on and draw on and then save. So I'm going to do the yellow one now. Yellow one, I'm just going to leave it as a border. I'm not going to color it in, okay? So we have our purple one, our yellow one. Our third color is the blue one. Now, all these crystals are different sizes, okay, scientists? So some of them start out smaller than other ones, which is kind of hard to see when I bring them up to the camera. But once you see that what I've drawn on this paper. And for our white one, for our clear one, since I don't want to draw it in white since we wouldn't be able to see it, I'm going to use a pink marker for our clear crystal. But of course, you can use whatever color you like for the clear one, okay, scientists? All right, so I drew circles around all four jelly crystals on our paper, and this is how big each of them was at the start of our experiment, okay? So you can see that the purple one is the biggest. It looks like the blue one was the smallest. Looks like the yellow one was a little bit smaller than the purple one. And the pink one, remember we used pink for the clear jelly crystal, the pink one was right in the middle of all of them, okay? So it's important that we know how big they are at the start, because we want to see if they're bigger at the start, does that mean they're going to be bigger at the end? Does that mean they're going to be able to soak up more water than the smaller ones? Okay, so that's going to be our first hypothesis today. Do you think the bigger jelly crystals will soak up more water? So think about that for a second. You can make that guess in your head, or you can tell your brother or your sister or your parents, okay? And then we're going to start our experiment. So I'm going to set those crystals aside. I'm going to set this aside, put it somewhere safe so you don't lose it, okay, scientists? And then for this part of the experiment, I'm going to use my cool test tubes, okay, that we've used at school before. If you don't have ones like these, it's totally fine. You're just gonna want to use any clear cup, okay, scientists? It just has to be any regular sized clear cup, okay, because we want to be able to see what's happening from the side, okay? Now, I'm going to take all the lids off my test tubes, okay? And I have, how many test tubes do I have? Can you help me count, scientists? Let's see here, all the lids are off. Let's see how many test tubes I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I have 6 test tube scientists. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, for one of them, I'm going to put all 4 of these jelly crystals, the ones that I measured, okay, I'm going to put those 4 into one test tube. And this is going to be our control group, which means we know exactly how big each of these jelly crystals were at the start of the experiment, okay? So we want to keep those 4 separate from the rest so that after they've soaked up the water, we know that it's the same ones that we're measuring after as that we did before, okay? So I'm gonna fill only these 4 jelly crystals up with water, okay? Now you just need to make sure that you can fill up your cup at least halfway with water, okay, scientists? So there's our jelly crystals at the bottom. You can see they're still the same size that they were before. Remember I said it doesn't happen instantly, okay? So we're gonna put those 4 in there. Gonna put a lid on it so it doesn't spill. And I'm gonna move it to the back, okay? Now for this one, I'm gonna take some of my yellow crystals, okay? Now each one of you got a different amount of crystals because I couldn't exactly count them all out. So for this one, I'm gonna put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to be about 15 to 20 crystals, okay, scientists, that I'm going to put into this one. And if you want to count them as you put them in, absolutely, you should do that. And so then you know when we check it tomorrow, you can try to remember how many were in there. Okay, so then I'm going to fill this one up with water. Remember, we just need to make sure we have your cup at least halfway full. Okay, you don't have to fill it all the way up. I'm going to add a couple more crystals in there. All right, and that's what that looks like down at the bottom, our yellow crystals. So I'm going to do the same thing for my purple ones and my blue ones. Remember, scientists, you don't have to count them when you put them in, but if you want to, of course, you're more than welcome to. Now I'm putting in my blue ones. I'm just going to try to add about the same amount of blue ones as I did yellow ones. Okay, so I'm just going to take a couple pinches. I'm going to fill up my blue crystals with water. Now you'll notice, scientists, that all of the crystals do sink. Okay, they're heavy enough that they sink, they don't float. And then this one, I'm going to add our purple crystals. I'm going to do 2 pinches, just like I did with our other ones. Now, scientists, while I'm doing that, I want you to think about something that all of us have used at some point in our life, even if we don't remember. It's something that if you have a little brother or sister and they're not potty trained yet, it's something that they use, that they wear. and it has a lot of jelly crystals inside of it, okay? And what it does is it can help soak up lots and lots of water so it doesn't spill. Okay, I shouldn't say water, I should say liquid. It can soak up lots and lots of liquid. Now you'll notice, scientists, the blue one didn't really make the water that blue, but the purple ones, the second I poured it in, some of the purple coloring made the water purple, which is pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, and that's what it looks like down at the bottom. Okay, what's something that your younger brother or sister, before they were potty trained, would have to wear that would have jelly crystals in them that could soak up lots of liquid so it wouldn't spill? Can anybody think about what that might be? I'm going to move these two to the back. I'm going to move these two to the front so you can see them a little bit better. Now for my last two test tubes, what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the clear jelly crystals that you boys and girls have. I'll do the same as I did with the other colors. A couple of pinches of the clear ones. Now we're going to do our second hypothesis. Okay, scientists, our second guess. If we add some watercolor or some food color, or even if you have paint at home, you can just mix some paint with some water and stir it up really good. If we add some colors to the water that we fill in, these two clear ones, will the jelly crystals change color? Okay, we're hoping that they soak up the water, but will they soak up the color that's inside of the water? Or will the water turn a different color, but the crystals will stay clear after they've soaked up all the water? Okay, so I want you to make your guess. You can tell your mom, your dad, your brother, or your sister, or you can just say it to yourself. And then since we don't have any red ones, we're going to add some red ones. I mean, some red food coloring to the water. And what's another color that we don't have? We don't have green, right? So we're going to add some green too. So I'm going to add the red. Just going to mix it around a little bit. And then here's our green. Okay, so now our first part of the experiment is done. We've set everything up. Okay, now we're going to leave the jelly crystals. Mix this green one around a little bit. We're going to leave the jelly crystals in the water. Okay, we're going to put them somewhere in your house where there isn't sunlight hitting them. So don't put them outside and don't put them directly next to a window. Okay, we're going to leave them overnight. Okay, you can go and you can pick it up and you can look every couple hours if you want and see if you can tell if they're changing in any way. Okay, but we're going to leave them in the water until tomorrow. Okay, so I will see you tomorrow and we can take these out together and see what we've discovered. Okay, and an answer to the question I asked about something that your little brother or sister would wear that has jelly crystals in it that can soak up a lot of liquid, that would be diapers. Raise your hand if you guessed diapers, scientists. Diapers have jelly crystals in them, just like these, okay? Because when they're dry, they're really, really small. And then if your brother or your sister, if they pee in their diaper, then the jelly crystals will soak up the pee so it doesn't make a big mess everywhere, okay? So everybody has to wear diapers. You had to wear diapers at some point. I had to wear diapers at some point. Your mom and dad had to wear diapers at some point. So all of us have used jelly crystals in our own lives to help us soak up our pee so that it doesn't make a big mess. Okay, so bravo to you if you were able to guess that. Nice work, scientists. And if you actually cut open a diaper, you can ask your mom and dad to help you with that if you have one that you want to cut open. If you cut one open, some of them you can actually see the jelly crystals once you cut them open. Okay, now tomorrow we're going to talk about another spot where we use jelly crystals all the time. There's actually a way to use them when we're planting plants or trees. Okay, so we'll talk about that tomorrow after we do the next part of our experiment. Thank you, scientists. I can't wait to check these out with you tomorrow.